Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be talking about some Diablo 4 news and updates. Now before we dive into the big thing in this video, I do want to take a second and cover the last patch and last update that happened to Diablo just a few days ago. Alright, diving into the first update I want to talk about is 1.1.4. Now this was really a tiny update. I was honestly expecting much more, and as you can see in this one screenshot, we pretty much captured the entire update. There were some bug fixes and stuff like that, but ultimately doesn't really matter and doesn't affect the feel and play of the game. So as we can see here, gameplay updates. The total experience bonus from the Urn of Aggression seasonal blessing has been increased from 8% to 20%. And in the developer note, we can see we increased the total experience bonus from the Urn of Aggression to make seasonal blessing more impactful and to help players seeking level 100 to get there a little faster. Now, I have quite a few opinions on this, but before we get into my opinions, let's talk about the really quick hotfix that they did that also ties into experience. Now, this is going to be hotfix 1.1.3. Now, this has been already rolled out to all players, so it is live in the game. And basically, for the game updates, we can see experience gain for killing monsters has been increased in World Tiers 3 and 4. World Tier 3, experience gain increased by 5%. World Tier 4, experience gain increased by 15%. Now those have been the two big updates since we last talked about anything Diablo. And now what are my thoughts on them? Well, they're a good change, but overall, it's really just reverting to what we had in the past. As you can see, written in this PC Game article by Harvey Randell, Diablo 4 continues to walk back changes from its fiendishly unpopular 1.1 patch, boosting experience gains on World Tier 3 and 4. Now, for those of you who weren't paying attention when 1.1 dropped, we basically got a huge nerf to the experience that our characters were getting. And with both of these changes combined, the seasonal XP change for the Urn, and with the World Tier 3 and 4 boost, we are effectively back at zero. We are where we were in the past, and it's kind of disappointing. Overall, I'm glad they changed it back. XP really was slow and it was terrible to grind to 100, especially in the higher levels. It felt like it took eternity to get from level 90 to 100. Good change. I'm not saying this was a bad change. I'm just saying it shouldn't have been changed from the start. We shouldn't have nerfed it to then reintroduce it as a feature in the patch and the hotfix. I was disappointed when they did this in 1.1. Glad they fixed it, but overall, it's just annoying that they keep nerfing stuff to only bring back later as a feature. It is quite annoying, and I don't like it when game studios do that, and hopefully we move away from this in the future with Diablo. Now, Harvey Randall published an amazing article on this. I highly would encourage everyone to go read it if you're interested in the XP buffs. They did an amazing job outlining the changes and what it really does for the game. I can't give them enough credit for that. They did a really good job on that, and overall, a good change, but still kind of disappointing at the end of the day. Now, to dive into what this video is really about, this is a Twitter thread started by Rod Ferguson, and here we are on September 15th. So much stuff in Diablo 4 Season 2 that Pez Radar will need to host 2 deep dive streams to cover it. Hashtag Season of Blood. And then, of course, we got a response from Pez Radar. It is quite a lot, laughing face emoji. I expect both streams to be around 2 hours. So that is 4 hours we are expected to receive content about Season 2. Now, what are my thoughts about this? Well, I'm keeping an optimistic mind. This could turn out great. You know, maybe they've been working really hard behind the scenes, and Season 2 has a ton of content that they're going to unveil and wow us with. What I'm worried about is they're building all this hype around, 4 hours of content to go through on this live stream for it to then flop and everybody's going to be upset again. And overall, I'm just nervously optimistic. We'll see how this goes when the live streams happen. I'm very, very, very praying so that these turn out well, and there actually is a bunch of content to be introduced because I love Diablo and I want to play it more, but there's just no content to play right now. And so if they do have a ton of content, on the way, that will be great news for Diablo. And I think Diablo would become a much more thriving game, because right now the community is kind of tired of it and the servers are kind of dead. Now, there's not much more I can say about this until the live streams happen, but of course I will be doing a deep dive into each live stream and covering everything important that you guys need to know. So when those live streams happen, make sure to stay tuned. If you don't want to watch the whole 2 hours each, you can come and I'll have a video basically with just, the short notes you need to know, the big changes. So with that, let's move on to what the community thinks of Diablo 4 right now. Now, before I talk about the community section, I always want to give a quick disclaimer. These are all pulled from the official Diablo 4 Reddit page. Now, quick disclaimer, the Diablo 4 Reddit page can be quite toxic towards the game, and this does not represent the entire community as a whole. Usually people go on this Reddit page to complain about Diablo 4, so these views can be, definitely skewed in a negative fashion towards Diablo, but I still think it's important to view what the community's, putting out there on the official forums. Now, this one talks about the hotfix and patch that we mentioned at the beginning of the video, Classic Blizzard, reduce XP and then give XP back. Now, this is very close to what I said at the beginning. It is super frustrating that they did this, and I know the community feels the same way. It is just, it's so annoying when, studios do this. They remove it, and they know they shouldn't remove it because people were happy with where it was, and then they're like, oh, we messed up. Sorry, here's it back. And they expect it to be like this big thing where the community's thankful. We're not. We're just upset that it was gone in the first place. Now, I'm definitely glad they fixed it, and they hopefully continue to keep it the same or even give it a little bit more of a buff in the future. But, rant aside, that situation is where it's at. I'll stop ranting on that situation. Now, here we have kind of a longer one, but bear with me. Now, this was posted by Feels Amazing Man Gun. I finally did it. I finally hit level 100, and I'll never do it again. Here's how my experience went. Leveling 1 through 60, I had a lot of fun. Completing seasonal missions, chatting with friends on Discord, and in a party of 4. Level 60 through 70. Most of my friends quit, only 2 people remained. Level 70 to 80. Occasionally found new gear. My other 2 friends had more time than me and got to level 100 and then stopped playing, leaving me to grind 80 to 100 by myself. 80 to 90. Barely found any gear. Realized only nightmare dungeons are worth the time. Level 86, finished the season, got all the rewards, last cash gave me 3 yellows. 90 to 100. Realized the only viable way to level up was running the same 5 to 6 nightmare dungeons, doing the annoying tasks, and either getting one shot or one-shotting everyone. Level 90 to 95, still haven't found a new amulet. My best is a 669, level 78. Level 96, I found a new amulet. Level 93 through 100. Realized there is no reason to even loot in this game. Basically decided to get a level a day by just running nightmare dungeons as fast as I could and not picking up anything. No loot, no gold, no elixirs, nothing. 7 days of killing mobs and doing the same old dungeon tasks. Not even looking for better gear or needing better gear. Only thing left to do is kill Uber Lilith, but I'm going to do that with the 2 other friends that quit. The end of the game was incredibly boring. The fact that they capped the level in the open world is so disappointing. I love to do just events in any open world events, but they are all ruined now. I really hope they make the end game more viable. I would like to do Helltides, Legions, and hopefully new boss fights. Now, I picked this one to showcase here because I feel like it really hit the head on the actual experience playing through Diablo. The leveling experience early on is incredibly fun, but again, once you get into the end game, it is incredibly boring. And I can't agree more with how they talked about the open world being such a disappointment. The open world events are the things that make the early game leveling fun, and by capping them, we basically just take the fun out of the end game. Now, I've talked about this a whole lot in my video on how to improve Diablo. Now, I had some pretty cool ideas in there about how you can actually, bring the open world into the end game and bring aspects to actually make it worth doing, but I'm not going to reiterate that here. If you guys have already seen it, it'll be up in the card below or in the description down below you. And finally, here in the final response from the community that I've chosen, Diablo 4 is the loneliest multiplayer game I've ever came across. Changed my mind. Basically what it says, there are no global chats to engage with, meet or flex, discuss builds with, no channel to discuss affix rerolls and itemizations. Not even the vendor wants to talk to you about what the affix option rerolls. Just a bunch of dead air and loneliness in a solo world labeled as an MMO. The character inspection does not give access to abilities or talent points, forcing you to leave the game to find and try new builds, instead of having a community where you can have hive mind ideas. Inviting people is awkward. They have a trade option with so many limits and restrictions, it makes honestly no sense to even be in the game. You have no communities in game and can only join one guild with up to a 150 player limit, meaning you rarely have more than a dozen people on in any chat that you can regularly communicate with. Feels bad, man. Now, I chose this because it again reiterates my experience that this game is honestly extremely lonely. You know, when you start out with a season leveling, 1 through 50, you usually have people to play with. People are excited to play because it's fun. But once you get past level 50 or 60 and the game doesn't get as fun anymore, a lot of people quit. The friends you're playing with every day, they stop coming, logging onto the server. And eventually, if you're grinding all the way to level 100, you end up spending most of the time in that season completely alone. The trading is completely pointless in this game practically, and there's nothing in this game that encourages you to group up. I would like to see a system that, was in like D2R, for example, Diablo 2 Resurrected, where you could search games that people had made and they were running certain stuff. Now I get the D2R was not an open world game in the sense of how Diablo is, but in my mind, they could do something very similar where, you could make an instance, entitle it Nightmare Dungeons Tier 4, like in whatever tier of Nightmare Dungeon you're doing, and just leave spots open for people to join. If they join, they can't do the dungeon, that's fine. You can kick them out of your instance, but then it encourages people to group up to do stuff together. At least build some sort of community. I would like it so you could join multiple guilds and really increase the player limit on the guilds. I don't really see a reason for the player limit, and I don't see a reason why you couldn't join multiple. Overall, that's just my opinion. I hope you guys have learned something about the Diablo 4 news today, and I will be back with some more New World news and Diablo news in the short future. So with that, thank you everybody for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see you guys in a future video.